Welcome to Venezuela Insider, the only place in Venezuela for expats, digital nomads, entrepreneurs, investors, travelers, and related internationals. For more information, venezuelainsider.com.
Today we are talking about the three major factors that are going to increase the real estate prices within Venezuela. So I said many times on this channel that the real estate market in Venezuela is a call option. If you buy here, if you buy today on this particular time frame, you are buying close to the cheapest prices on the market. The cheapest prices were on late 2018. That's the bottom, the pinpoint where the market was at the lowest. However, today it's been increasing, of course, depends on the market. On some markets, the prices has increased, and some tranches within each regional market have trending up. However, it's nothing compared of the prices, the price increases that we can see on the near future, on the long term, that is where you're gonna see, it's gonna outperform the S&P and many other investments, even crypto. So you have to see the big picture. So today we're discussing the three major factors that are gonna increase the real estate prices within Venezuela. The first one, easy, is oil production. The Venezuelan economy goes as the oil economy goes. Fairly simple. Now, there's been some decoupling a little bit from the oil GDP to the non-oil GDP and GDP overall. So at some point it was something like 97%. Today I would say it's less than 90 because the non-oil economy has a significant growth on the past 5-6 years. However, the thing when the oil economy booms is when you see the true, enhancement on the Venezuelan oil economy. Right now, Venezuela is producing around 800,000 barrels of crude oil per day. The bottom was on COVID 2020, that it was around 400,000 barrels. But the top of the market during this century was around 3 million barrels. That was on the early 2010s. And trust me, when you see an increase of, let's say, 100, 200,000 barrels of crude oil per day, that's when you see prices going up, real estate, some domestic goods and services. You see the sentiment shifting towards positive, and you see a lot of non-oil investments going on as well. So, as the market goes, it depends on the oil industry, the oil economy, and of course, when you have a stagnated production, let's say the same 800,000 barrels, but when you see an increase on the oil prices worldwide, let's say the war in Russia, or the war in Ukraine involving Russia, or you see a conflict on the Middle East, or something on the Suez Canal, something on the nature, or Europe over applying ESG policies, something of that nature is gonna increase oil prices and also are gonna increase the real estate prices on the Venezuelan economy. Number two is the frictions for international investors. And my clients know very well what I'm talking about. In order to invest in Venezuela and buy real estate, you need an investor visa. There is it's kind of hard to get, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of delay, and it's not as easy as it sounds. And also you can maybe bypass that, but it takes some risk, some issues going on that I'm not going to explain in this video. But regardless, there is a bunch of frictions in order to an investor, of course, depending on the nationality that wants to buy real estate in Venezuela. Well, there's a lot of bureaucracy and hurdles to bypass in order to get to the point where you can buy real estate in Venezuela. However, this process, this bureaucracy, can be easily reduced or solved by just a decree, a mandate by, of course, the president of Venezuela, or a decree by the National Congress, or just some politicians, some bureaucrats hanging together and say, you know what, let's just remove this thing that's gonna spike up the prices on regarding real estate in Venezuela, because you have a bunch of international investors trying to buy at the same time. Actually, with all of the restrictions that we have today, there is a lot of investors trying to buy, and actually some of them succeeding in purchasing real estate properties in Venezuela, in places like Caracas, and Margarita Island, my hometown Lecheria, Valencia, and so on and so on. So what is going to happen is, if you buy when you are still with these restrictions within the Venezuelan bureaucracy and you are successful buying properties, buying real estate within Venezuela, well, what happens is, when those restrictions, or more of their restrictions, or some of their restrictions, are lastly eliminated or reduced, to say the least, well, that's going to spike way up the real estate prices. And number 3 is the mortgage market. Well, that's from these 3 things, that's the one that I'm less hopeful. Well, what happens is that the credit market in Venezuela is very, very low. For instance, in the United States, the credit size of the economy is over 100% of GDP. Places like Chile, for instance, is over 50% of GDP. So you have the whole size of the economy, and 50% is in credit. And the average in Latin America is around 30% of the GDP, the size of credits and loans and so on and so on. Well, in Venezuela, it's less than 2%. That's low, very low. And the few credits, the few loans approved are for industrials. So there is no consumer credit, there is no mortgage credit, basically not existing in the country. So what happens is, people have to buy straight up cash. The good thing is that you're not going to see a real estate bubble in Venezuela like the GFC, for instance, with the subprime mortgages and so on, because we don't have mortgage, period. So the market can go any lower. So what happens at the end is that, if you see an increase on mortgages issued within the Venezuelan economy, the prices, of course, are going to increase sharply. However, that's a scenario that I see maybe 5 or 10 years on the road.
Thank you for watching Venezuela Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. If you want to work with us, VenezuelaInsider.com. Thanks again, and have a nice day.